When you're on a maintenance service plans, there's a number of things that you have advantage of. One of them is smooth cash flows. You have to look at it as if you pay a flat fee or a per hour amount as you fly the aircraft, and you don't have those concerns under that coverage plan for those components that may fail. It's especially helpful with the engines because that is the highest risk of all the costs associated with operating an aircraft. Another area of advantage is under the risk appetite. You have to look at it, if you don't have the money up front for a catastrophic failure, you know that under those plans that it will be covered. You pay that fee and you have a seamless operation of the plan during the entire life of that agreement. When it comes to resale of the aircraft, it's an advantage. Most prospective buyers are going to ask, is that aircraft under an engine plan? That's the first question. Then they're going to ask, what kind of parts plan is it on? Or are the avionics covered? These are all great opportunities to make that aircraft look more presentable to market. Now, when it comes to financing the aircraft, you have to remember that the banks are going to require you to be on some of those plans, most likely the engine plans, which are the most expensive of all those plans that we talk about. So you must keep that in mind if you're leasing the aircraft, that there will be additional costs associated with covering those engines at the minimum.
And what we find is frequently we're balancing all those advantages versus the cost of money of tying up the capital over a longer period of time to take advantage of those programs.
Absolutely.
So a material consideration.
Yeah, there's that opportunity to minimize and streamline your budget and know that what your costs are going to be year over year.
What we find is that the selection of maintenance service programs is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. In a nutshell, what are the couple of things that really move the meter on that evaluation?
Well, when you're looking at maintenance service plans, I think it's important that you recognize that what is your risk appetite? What is it on that aircraft that you really feel is going beyond the coverage that you're comfortable in your expenditures? And then you need to look at what is the make, the model of the aircraft that you have. What's available to me to make that decision whether I want that coverage or not. And then of course you want to look at your maintenance strategy and your capabilities. Can I do some of this in-house and not have to have that additional labor coverage in those components? So I think you need to look at those three pieces to come up with a good understanding of what will fit best for your operation.
Peter, when we think about risk of maintenance, we really think about it along two parameters, frequency and magnitude. How do you think about maintenance risk relative to those two schools of thought?
Well, when we talk about the coverage of maintenance plans, you have to look at what risk appetite you want to endure for that aircraft. Obviously, the magnitude on an engine failure is going to be significant. You're in the millions of dollars depending on the failure. But if you have an individual component on the aircraft that has a small dollar amount for replacement, you may or may not consider having a maintenance plan to cover those such components. It's something you have to look at and research and make sure that depending on the manufacturer's meantime between failures of those components, you can make an educated judgment as to which plan fits for that model and make of aircraft.
Peter, do you have any specific examples that would highlight sort of the cost in for some of these maintenance programs versus the value out in terms of coverage that you've seen?
Right, there are various programs out there that you can choose from. Honeywell has a plan on the aircraft that they support where if you buy into their avionics plan for $35,000 a year on for example, a Gulfstream 550, you're going to cover $2.4 million worth of components over that year. So if any of those components fail, you'll have a plan that covers that at a risk of only $35,000 a year. So that's one example. There's also another example on a model of a Gulfstream that there are air valves and pressurization control systems in the airplane that are also covered under the Honeywell program. Again, that would cost you approximately $50,000 a year, but you're going to get $4.7 million worth of components in that plan.
Peter, we frequently help evaluate maintenance service plans, and within that evaluation we have the option of including or eliminating labor costs. What's your view on that?
When most operators are looking at labor programs, It's because they want to pay into a program that covers that normally would be covered if you had your own technicians. So they have their advantage at times. However, the disadvantage of doing that is you're tied into a program where the labor may or may not be around when you have the problem. So you have to keep that in your decision making to make sure that your dispatch reliability doesn't drop by going on to those plans. So it's not a truly popular plan, but they are offered for those that feel that they would rather have someone else take care of their maintenance.
When we're thinking about that, many of our customers are looking for predictability. Does the addition of the labor component within a given program add predictability to the overall coverage?
It does, because you're now having that coverage and you don't have any of the unknowns when they get in there and start doing their maintenance, because it does include the inspection of the aircraft, not just for unscheduled maintenance that you might encounter. So there is some predictability, and it does help in streamlining your budget. However, the cost against it will increase the operating cost of the aircraft significantly.
Peter, we talked a little bit about life cycle planning on an airplane. Are we required to sign up for these individual programs when you buy the airplane, or is there some flexibility as you move through the ownership experience?
No, you're not required to sign up for any of those plans, because the manufacturer, if it's a new aircraft, is going to give you a warranty period. Now, it's going to vary between the components that are in the cabin for 2 years, the paint for 2 years, the engines for 4 to 5 years, and the airframe for usually 5 years. So you don't have to do anything. However, the advantage of signing up for some of these programs in the warranty period is you get a rate reduction while it's under warranty that you would not get if you're out of warranty. So there is an advantage to signing to these programs before you come off warranty.